Well, that escalated quickly. Hey guys, Jay, welcome back to the channel. Holy crap, everybody. For the first part of this year, it's been pretty ho-hum and kind of quiet in terms of the toy sphere. A lot of companies, I guess, were taking a break from the 2024 holiday season and they're slow to get started. But February, the end of February, literally went out like a lion, screaming to everybody that 2025 is full of surprises. As a matter of fact, today, we just got some absolutely bonkers news. DC is returning to Mattel in the most crazy fashion, and I wanted to cover this because this could shake everything up. Let's take a deep dive into this and see exactly what was announced on Mattel's Instagram page and from the LA Times news article. Let's have a look, everybody. Okay guys, Mattel. They've been in news recently. Earlier last week, we did discover that Nicholas Galitzine posted a brand new teaser photo for the Master Universe motion picture for 2026, and honestly, many of us were very, very excited about this overall photo. I'm myself included, I'm not going to lie about that. It is giving me that bit of hope that I need, and of course, I did have to comment on this photo by saying, I want to believe, and I do. I really, really do. So we will continue to monitor the situation on that front. But today was an entirely different ball of wax. I woke up this morning and people were just messaging me all about this, and I just had no idea, no recourse, no real response to it because I just didn't know what to think about this. Mattel posted this reel on their Instagram page. And honestly, what else am I going to say? I'm absolutely gobsmacked. DC has returned to Mattel. What? This is crazy. Put a statement here, which just reads very cryptically, too. Exciting times ahead. Mattel and Warner Brothers Discovery's exciting times ahead. Mattel and Warner Brothers Discovery's new license agreement means that more amazing DC products are on the way. Get ready for Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and more in 2026. That's a bit cryptic. That really is rather spacious. I mean, like, it doesn't say whether they're action figures, it doesn't say whether they're statues, it doesn't say whether they're board games or anything like that. It's really, really quite spacious. So I had to do some digging and find out exactly what this meant in terms of its overall reach for the action figure community. And I didn't have to go too far. Heading over to the Los Angeles Times, the article was pretty self-explanatory. Mattel wins back lucrative rights to make DC-themed action figures and other toys. Oh, wow. This is absolutely crazy. Now, it should be noted that this actually is not the first time the DC license has been with Mattel. After all, for quite some time, they had the DC Universe Classics Edition, which fit in sort of well with the Master Universe Classics. As a matter of fact, they actually did a crossover versus series, which pitted Superman versus He-Man, which also included a classic full-size comic book from DC Comics, where the most powerful man in the universe faced off against the most powerful Kryptonian in the galaxy. These two figures really did pit well against each other, and it really was that idea of magic versus Kryptonian physiology, which of course we know from DC sometimes does not mix very well, and Superman was at quite the disadvantage at one point. This also continued in the sea with Aquaman versus Merman, which also included a exclusive mini poster squaring the two masters of the sea, one on Eternia and one on Earth, taking on each other in an epic battle of aquatic proportions. So DC returning to Mattel is a big deal. This article, which was written by Queenie Wong on February 27, 2025, goes on to state that Mattel has reclaimed the highly coveted rights to creating action figures and collectibles based on DC characters such as Batman and Superman, starting on the second half of 2026. Wow. So we still are at least a year and a half away from seeing any figures from Mattel. And this is a quote, "It's a huge deal. You're dealing with some of the greatest superheroes and some of the best action figure potential in the industry. And we're incredibly excited by that." This was a quote by P.J. Lewis, Mattel Senior Vice President and Global Head of Action Figures and Fisher-Price Entertainment. It goes on to say that Mattel lost the global licensing rights about 6 years ago to develop and market some DC-related toys to rivals Spin Master and McFarlane Toys, which was a big deal at the time, and of course we know where that went. McFarlane went on to create the DC Multiverse line. And Spin Masters also ended up creating their own line of action figures and miniature collectibles. The article goes on to say, the new multi-year deal could help fuel sales for the El Segundo-based toy maker and entertainment company as it competes with contenders such as Hasbro, which produces Marvel superhero action figures. But the most important parts of the article highlight that Mattel and Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns the DC brand, did not disclose the agreement with financial terms. A quick Google search later, and it is confirmed that Warner Brothers Discovery is a multinational company that owns many brands and networks, including CNN, HBO, the Discovery Channel, as well as DC Comics. Along with figures, Mattel will also be able to create and market DC-themed playsets, accessories, and role-play products as part of the deal. This is amazing, as we haven't seen an actual playset for the DC action figures in quite some time. The most recent one that comes to mind, of course, is the Joker movie limited edition collector set live with Murray Franklin, which there have been multiple videos on, and if you guys haven't heard about this, trust me, it's easy to find. The agreement includes rights for all DC stories and characters, including Wonder Woman, the Joker, and Harley Quinn. And those are wonderful notes, as they did mention role-play products as part of the deal. Costumes, perhaps collectible helmets, collectible role-play items like swords, mallets, all of that kind of stuff. Interesting to note is this small excerpt. The announcement also comes as filmmakers work on new DC movies slated to be released in the next several years. The lineup includes Superman, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, Clayface, and The Batman Part 2. Robert Oberschelp, head of Warner Brothers Discovery Global Consumer Products, said, the DC brand is one of the company's crown jewels, and the battle to obtain the licensing rights was highly competitive. The company considered manufacturer's business model and a track record in design work, distribution, and innovation when wielding options. This is quite the interesting statement. As we know, McFarlane has held the DC Multiverse rights for the last 6 years, and in that time, they've just created multitudes of different action figures with varying results. One thing you have to give McFarlane is that they were producing figures at a staggering pace. Their overall release schedule seemed like it was happening every month, and in some cases, daily. Their overall portfolio of figures in the time that they've had this license is something that any manufacturer would be proud of. But that's not to say that it's been all roses and sunshine, as some fans have been critical about the overall design of the action figures themselves, the types of articulation that they've had, and in some cases, the delivery schedule was a bit off, depending on the market that you found yourself in. He goes on to say, what Mattel really brought was a very clear understanding of our brand. That's really interesting. And does that indicate that there was some sort of disconnect between McFarlane Toys and the understanding of the DC brand going forward? Adding that the toy maker's global reach was an important factor. Mattel's have a much wider reach than McFarlane in the grand scheme of things. You have content coming from everywhere, and that's going to be in front of the fan to get them excited. What we're going to be able to do is extend that storytelling, he said. So if we were to take this at face value, we could easily infer that McFarlane is losing the DC action figure license for the foreseeable future. However, that doesn't mean that McFarlane is out of the game. After all, last year, they made deals with both Hasbro and Marvel to start producing multiple new figures for their lines. And although Marvel is starting out with action figure stanchions, that doesn't mean that action figures themselves won't soon be on the way, as the landscape for action figures and toys continues to move in multiple directions. And as we know, Hasbro has allowed both G.I. Joe and Power Rangers to start moving to multiple companies, McFarlane being one of them. And it really is one of those situations where, as I've stated in the past, hell just froze over with Hasbro joining forces with Mattel, and it seems as time goes on, more and more companies are joining forces with each other to survive in this ever-changing landscape for action figures and toys. At the end of the day, what does this mean for Mattel going forward? Well, I think it really does mean that we have many more choices in the toy space, and quite possibly also indicates that the Man of Steel and the most powerful man in the universe might have another encounter in the battle for toy supremacy across all multiverses. And at the end of the day, all that means is more choice and more toys for collectors. Okay, so the toy landscape is just going all over the place. I don't know what the heck is going on. Like, seriously, what the hell just happened? We already have multiple partnerships from traditional rivals in the toy sphere. I mean, a year ago or so, I literally said that hell had frozen over. Hasbro and Mattel had joined forces on multiple different brands. Then we found out that McFarlane was actually, doing a little bit of a dance with Marvel, which just made no sense. I mean, Hasbro, premier developer of Marvel action figures. It was just one of these things where, like, how are these partnerships happening? How are these licenses being distributed? And then we can just see Hasbro literally distributing licenses to multiple partners all across the way, including McFarlane. So all of the cards are on the table. The whole toy sphere has gone upside down, topsy-turvy. Anything's possible now. It's a brand new world out there, everybody. Anything is possible. This is absolutely bonkers. And now, DC is back with Mattel has just blown everybody's collective minds. I don't know what to think, but one thing I am sure of, this just means more toys and more action figures for consumers and more choice, which is never, ever a bad thing. Let me know in the comment section below, guys, what are your thoughts about these ongoing developments with multiple companies making multiple deals with each other? What does this mean for the future of McFarlane DC figures? And have they actually lost the action figure license completely? Or is this another situation where multiple different companies are able to share action figure licenses? I mean, when you think about it, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is everywhere. They are everywhere. They're with Mattel. They're with Super 7. They're with NECA. They have multiple different bedfellows. I'm going to say it that way. And now we're seeing that this is possibly something that can happen with DC and Marvel. I mean, Marvel is with Hasbro, and it is with McFarlane, and it's actually with the Asian market. It's crazy what's happening right now. Absolutely crazy. Or is this something that you're not surprised in and you were expecting this to happen actually a lot sooner, and you were really excited about this because you're not really into McFarlane's style of action figures and would rather see somebody else take a crack at it? Let me know those comments in the comment section below, guys. Toy news is just going absolutely bonkers this week, and I really am having a hard time keeping track of what has happened. This is absolutely nuts. And I just have to say that DC Multiverse might be in danger and may go over to Mattel, and we're going to see what Mattel can do with it. It's a crazy situation all around. And of course, New York Toy Fair is actually happening this weekend. And just yesterday, I reported on something absolutely bonkers as well. In terms of legacy brands, Mask is making a return thanks to the loyal subjects. I did an entire full video on their teases that they just released on their Instagram page. You can take a look at that video right here, and I'll see you guys there. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe. And as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Toys are just going nuts, but we, as consumers, truly do have the power. And the power is returning from DC over to Mattel. Good journey, everybody. Geek proud.